because you look at this crazy stuff that the president is coming out for with his new budget, and he's calling for all these higher taxes. He was up in Manchester, New Hampshire today. He's trying to tell us he's a capitalist. He told us he was a capitalist at the State of the Union the other night, and now he's saying again, because you see, any moron could tell you that the policies he's putting forward are hardly capitalist. No, these are totally socialist in nature. He's got a big socialist rooting there with what he's trying to push forward. So, he's trying to say, I'm really not. Listen to him.
And now it's my goal to cut the federal debt even more by making big corporations and the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share. I'm not anti-corporation. I represent the state of Delaware. More corporations incorporated in Delaware than every other state in America combined. But guess what? But I'm a capitalist, man. Make all the money you want. Just begin to pay your fair share of taxes. You better remember the big fight I had not long ago, and the reason why I was able to cut the deficit already by $7 billion in the first year. And that was because we found out that we wanted to make sure that there were 50 corporations that made $40 billion in 2021. Didn't pay a penny in taxes. I did an awful thing. I convinced us all to raise it to 15%. Isn't that awful? And it paid for everything that we've paid for what we've done so far and still cut the deficit. Look, a fair tax code is how we invest in things that make this country great. From healthcare, education, defense, and so much more, research, development.
I can't believe he says this with a straight face. Oh, I'm a capitalist. Make all the money you want. Just make sure you pay your fair share. Unless, of course, you're Hunter Biden. They don't pay anything. Come on. Like, I'm sorry. This pay your fair share business, it's really exhausting because I've told you this before, but all his buddies in the private equity industry that give all this money to his campaign, they don't have to pay their fair share. Nope, they get away with treating their income as though it were capital gains. I mean, would this change under the new budget proposal that's going to go after capital gains? I don't know about that. I went through the whole thing and I didn't see any mention of the private equity tax loophole. But he's trying to sit there with a straight face and say, I'm a capitalist. Just pay your fair share. Well, what is your fair share? Do you think it's really fair to charge American corporations so much more than they would be charged anywhere else in the world? I mean, you got to have that little equilibrium, right? That Art Laffer talked about so brilliantly, the Laffer curve that he drew on the napkin for Ronald Reagan. I love Art. He's a dear friend, has been a great mentor over the years because I just value his view on the economy so much. We got to get him back on the show. But anyway, Art would say, look, at some point, you reach that threshold where companies don't want to be in business. And guess what? They've found a better place to go, and that would be Ireland. Thank you very much. So let's forget having them go overseas. Let's keep them here. Let's incentivize all the American corporations to be here. And let's disincentivize the Chinese corporations from making cheap stuff in, say, Mexico, as the former president was talking about on CNBC this morning, by putting tariffs on them. I mean, it's, again, not that hard. But Joe Biden is rigging the game so that ultimately it comes back to hurt you, right? I mean, if you're the family and you got like a firefighter and a teacher, or I don't know, like if you manage to make $400,000 with two people working, he wants to treat you like he's going to treat the billionaires, the millionaires. I'm sorry, this is not the American spirit that we all love, ladies and gentlemen. It's just not. And he's not a capitalist. No, he's a socialist, right out of Obama's team. I mean, Obama's a socialist too. Remember you didn't build that business? That's exactly who these people are. And they think that they can redistribute your wealth. Because maybe you made a decision to go to vocational school and become an electrician, and maybe you built a heck of an electrician's business. or you became a plumber. You're doing real work, okay? And you build a heck of a business, but somehow it's your responsibility to pay for the kid that wants to go and do gender studies at some Timbuktu university from which they're never going to graduate from, but they're going to have a party for as many years as they can off of your hard work? I don't think so. That is not America. And so he's going to sit there and try and redistribute your hard-earned dollars. A friend of mine was saying just the other day he wants to sue the federal government because of the 320,000 migrants that were flown into the U.S., into different cities all over the country with his tax-paying dollars. In other words, this is our money. We should have some say over it. And his policies will do everything to decimate what we have or have been able, miraculously in spite of him, to maybe grow. It's his policies that landed us with the inflation of 18%. It's his policies that have mortgages up 66%. Well, him and Jerome Powell and Chuck Schumer and some members of Congress as well, because they all just think you can keep on spending. I'll tell you, even the OMB is coming out and saying that this is not really sound. It is going to add to our deficit. He says, oh, we're going to reduce our deficit. No, that's not what's happening. You can't print money. Argentina tell you this. All right, Malays out there trying to warn everybody at Davos. They're like, oh my gosh, who's this guy? You can't print money. And you know what, this wealth tax, I'll tell you what, we'll look at France. See how well that worked out for France. Remember they tried that wealth tax business? And what did everybody do? They left the country. Of course, Joe put in something, or the Democrats at some point, or somebody put in something under some administration that makes it really hard to check out of America. Because if you want to check out, they take 50% of everything you own. I'd like to know how they value it as well. Is that Letitia James who comes in and says, I think this is worth this and this is worth that? Unbelievable stuff. Listen, I don't think it's going to get to first base, but it gives you an insight, a window into how these people really think. And this is why it's so critical right now at this time that we all kind of pull together and we do what we need to do to make sure that we help preserve the greatness that is America.